Sabi nga, all right. Welcome back everyone dito sa latest episode ng FYI series. Kasama natin, of course, isa sa ating mga favorite ex-professors kasi nag-comment ako na congrats kay Prof. Munsut for our new podcast. One of my great ex-professors. Bigla may nag-comment, hindi ba kasama yung isa? Loko talaga mga tao, no? Talagang gusto ng tao parate marites. Speaking of
Right.
marites, Prof. Ranjit,
Mm.
let's talk about your latest survey on simulan muna tayo sa bardagulan with China and Philippines bago tayo sa Duterte Marcos one. Can you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about what do numbers really tell us about Filipino perceptions of China? So this is the number I had
Okay.
here.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so just for ano lang no, for background sake no. Well we conducted a survey from December 3 to 11. We
right.
conducted surveys, man. We were swamped in December. We had to conduct two surveys, and the first probe was done in the first week of December. And one of the probes was really on China. And naman, we always conduct these probes on a quarterly basis. Sometimes we don't do it as every quarter, but we have a routine, regular probe on China. And what did we find out? No? Nothing incredible, but I think the basic perception is 60% of Filipinos distrust China. Okay. That distrust in China is overwhelming and nationwide. I think I gave you a slide. You can show it, no? Only 13% of Filipinos say they trust China. And by the way, this is actually an improvement over the last few quarters. Okay. This imbalance or this distrust exists across all regions, classes, age groups, and education levels, making, in my view, distrust the dominant national sentiment as far as Filipinos are concerned. Second thing, we noticed that there's some decline in distrust, but there's no increase in trust. A lot of the change happened in the fourth quarter. The movement was towards ambivalence. Roughly 1 in 4, no, Filipinos, 26% were undecided. Uh, this could mean so many things, but in my view, it indicates that public opinion on China is not sharply polarized. No, instead, one can consider the landscape is being defined by um, a strong core of distrust and a sizable ambivalent middle. So this ambivalence we have to study, and it's across regions, no. Again, what else about distrust? No, distrust cuts across classes, and this is important, Richard. It's strongest among Class E and Class D. So distrust is highest among Class D and Class E. In Class E, it's 70%.
Hindi kaya may
Okay.
kinalaman to Prof. Ranjit dun sa nakikita nilang pag-aapi sa ating mga mangista para mas relatable siya di ba?
Yeah,
Kasi
I think
ang
so.
mangista natin is also from the working class or quote-unquote masa. So baka mas visceral pa sa kanila yung sense ng pagbubuli ng China sa atin.
I think so, and maybe they're also more exposed to the economic and security, vulnerabilities posed by this continuing tension with China. But I guess I think one of the big stories also is that there's some regional variation also. So we're just really talking about distrust, though, which I think if you look at all the probes on China, this is the one that's been changing over time. No, distrust has been going down, ambivalence is becoming higher, but trust with China is extremely low. No, uh,
Can we talk about
this
the regional variance? Because the,
okay,
the
yeah,
the
interesting,
Mindanao
interesting.
question was there a few years ago when there was an SWS survey that showed huge difference between how Mindanao views the West Philippine Sea and the rest. But some of the more recent surveys show some alignment or at least less variance across the region.
Yeah,
What does your study show?
it well, distrust remains, while remains the majority view. There's pockets of relatively higher trust in specific areas like Davao region. So in Davao region, the trust in China is around 31%. Central Luzon, 24%, some places in Central Luzon. Northern Mindanao, around 22%. Well, of course, while there are places where trust appears to be higher than usual, no, there are places where there's total skepticism, like in Caraga area. My sense is this reflects the local political, economic, and historical, context. And they don't really overturn the national pattern, no. So the bottom line is the survey shows that distrust towards China is broad-based. It cuts across class, age, and region. There's small pockets of higher trust, which is, as I said, Davao region and northern Mindanao. Okay, but the overriding, okay, distrust remains the basic character of our basic perception of majority of Filipinos.
So Duterte effect, can we say that na because of Duterte's good relationship with China or some of the good, I mean, China has a big breach project dyan sa Davao, right? So at least they see some
Possible, it's very
direct
possible.
benefit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we also noticed now when we were studying Japan-Philippine relations that in the Davao area, the trust is also higher, very high for Japanese nationals and
Because of
the
their
Japanese
investments and
government.
all
So
too.
I think maybe it's that local dimension um, that might be able to explain, no?
So which region is Caraga yung pinaka critical sa China?
Critical, oh yeah,
Uh,
critical. Yeah. But then there's a second part of our survey where we
right.
look at perception, and that has been increasing, no? It's stable, it's solid, it's relatively unchanging. It's called the probe focused on which country is the greatest threat, and here it's 79%. There's not too much gray area here. For most Filipinos, China remains the greatest threat to national security as far as everyday Filipinos are concerned. And I think of the two probes, this is the most serious. It's the hardest to change, and it's relatively unchanged over time. And the perceptions here are solid and well founded. They're it's very hard to move it from this kind of perception to something positive, unless of course significant changes happen on the ground, which we don't see is likely, no, over the next in the short to medium term or even the long term. So these are the findings of our study.
Wait,
I think
ano yung
yes,
ibang threats pala? Sorry, Prof. Ranjit. Is it countries or is it thematic? Like parang
no,
terrorist
it's countries.
countries? Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we find Filipinos find China a greater threat than North Korea, a greater threat than Russia. So yeah, these are the overwhelming 79%. The next countries will get, I think, 4 or 5%, very low. So yeah, among the most trusted, of course, the United States, Japan, no, is traditional allies, no, of the Philippines. After China, it's Russia. So yeah, but I think that's around 5%.
Oh, that's a
Just
huge
5.
difference. No, that's a huge difference.
Huge, it's huge. So there's a great majority of people with largely unchanging position on this particular issue on threat perception.
Interesting. So just to tie back before we go to Bardagulan within our country, Prof. Ranjit, so sana hindi na lang pinatulan ng Chinese embassy sila Ronald and all. Like, I mean, sabi ko,
Yeah.
naghahanap buhay lang yung spokesman. I mean, I'm transparent about it. I did meet the new ambassador and hoping to.
Did you advise him naman? I mean,
I said, ano, because he, first from Washington, D.C., so he understands how
yeah,
democracies like ours operate. Pangalawa,
yeah.
this is a very worldly person. He reminds me of the previous ambassador na medyo
Yeah.
gets naman niya yung lay of the land. And he said his priority is stabilization of the relationship. So hindi siya over-ambitious. Wala siyang
Yeah.
illusion. So I was quite surprised at how things got out of control. Pero feeling ko, it's the spokesman who was like, naghanap
I
buhay
think
lang. And then I
they
think
should
everyone
rethink
is
this
juicing it. Yeah, everyone is just juicing
Kasi,
it.
yeah, we gave, to be brutally, to be very transparent, I should say,
Yeah.
we also gave them a copy, and I think they were also surprised. But we gave them a copy after they did everything already. Nagsalita na yung spokesperson. So everything that they achieved over the year, which is basically a declining distrust, actually, we can forget about that in the first quarter kasi
Yeah. Well, I
tataas na
mean, like,
naman.
that escalated. When is it? Baka ma-persona non grata na siya sa
Yeah,
Manila. Like,
but
what's
the
going on, diba?
escalation was
Yeah.
ano yun, unreal. The Senate has to come out with a resolution. I mean, this was it was way out of line na. Talagang hindi na manage na
Yeah.
mabuti.
It
And
was out of control. But I
yeah,
think
and now it's gonna create it's gonna escalate distrust and that threat perception even more.
yeah, so not the best start, but I think at least
Yeah, that's the
lesson
best.
learned. Wag dapat patulan. At I think
Yeah, oo.
using it with Robin Hood coming in, Amy coming in. But I'm still wondering, how did Bato communicate his position considering the de facto fugitive? Alam ko yung parang not signed resolution, but there's still a difference between abstention, non.
Yeah,
So,
tama.
so how did he get into the resolution
It's a
debate?
mystery to me.
He's not even
It's a
there.
mystery to me also.
Exactly. So, wait,
Guys,
bakit nandyan si Bato?
yeah, but nakikita mo yung priority, no? Basta China related
Like,
talagang
biglang present ako sa... Ay,
at
ay,
all costs. Dapat,
baka
yeah.
meron silang WeChat. Baka may WeChat group sila na hindi madinig yung location.
Possibly WeChat ang ginagamit.
Kasi kung Zoom call ka na, madidetect sa siya eh.
Mahuhuli yun.
Mahuli talaga siya. So, probably used WeChat or some Chinese app to get his message to, I don't know, Amy or some other people in the Senate na very, very patriotic, obviously. Chinador ba? Sa term ni Ronald? Chinador.
Yeah, China. Yeah, but the person that got the greatest mileage here was Senator Ronald Llamas. Talagang
Exactly. I think Ronald's campaign effectively kicked off at the expense of China.
yeah, with the great help of Senator Padilla, you just went at him. Sabi ko nga sa kanya in another show where he was the host, sabi ko we should measure na. We should measure na yung senatorial
Actually, I feel bad na parang mabait si Robin sa akin eh. Mabait kami sa isa't isa. Para sabi ko minsan kailangan ko rin magbardago lang kay Robin. Kasi Robin really helps eh. Robin really helps with public. Pag yung attorney Gucci mga ganon, hindi mo bra. Pero pag si Robin Hood ang pumatol sa'yo, maganda eh.
Oo nga, tataas
Taas na
talaga yung
mileage.
yung clicks mo, yung
Did you
mga
see yung mga pictures ni Ronald, yung hairstyle niya parang si Robin, may bigote, may... Grabe talaga mga tao. Anyway, good advice because we want stability in our relationship. We don't want war. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a crazy world. That's all I want to say.
So your conversation with the Chinese ambassador, I mean, he does understand that,
Oh
the
yeah,
WP is important, but it's not the
100%.
sum
And I
total
said
of
this
our
is not about,
relationship, right?
yeah, and I said this is of course I mean, I didn't do a press release or something, but
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
the message I send is don't caricature the Philippines. We're not
yeah.
just too tough US. Meron tayong pag-iisip and expect us to be tough for a while we're building our own strategic culture and our sense of ourselves.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
realistic. I mean, walang bolahan, walang gana. It was very smooth. Parang ting tang conversations, like a panel conversation. It was
Yeah,
very
yeah.
transparent,
So
not blah,
do you
blah.
believe that we can we can strengthen other aspects of
Or
our
no, at
relationship,
least stabilize
trade?
for a year or two, especially this year.
Yeah,
Say we want
yeah,
Xi Jinping to come. At least some conversation here with Trump, etc. later this year sa Manila.
yeah,
The idea is create the conditions for that. And
yeah.
let's see what we can do. And of course, their eyes on 2028 also, and they don't want to be on the bad side of things with the next president. And so I have to be realistic about. I just gave them basically. So I'm sure yung mga mga chinador diyan kung ano-anong sinasabi sa inyo. But this is the score.
The lay of the land.
Yeah, and I said, and they know I'm not a fan of Trump necessarily. I'm quite
Yeah,
critical of Trump, so
yeah,
they know also like where I come from. Like I'm very critical on all
yeah.
superpowers. So I felt that was a very constructive discussion. Hindi ko na alam kung ano sinabi ni Marco Oleta sa kanya the other week na biglang na ano siya.
But you're right, Richard. Stabilization is the key, and they were already stabilizing. The fourth quarter
Yeah.
data is stabilizing to some extent. It's just that unfortunately, it's unfortunate that this exchange happened and escalated. Yeah, but I think there's really a lot of opportunity now to calm down and to talk about how we can develop or broaden and deepen other aspects of our relationship. Not necessarily, I mean, the people to people, the cultural aspect, the economic relations is still robust. They're our number one trading partner, and we hope that the relationship will benefit more Filipinos moving forward. I don't think there's going to be any resolution as far as the West
Yeah,
Philippine
this
Sea.
is about management. Isama na kita next time, Prof. Ranjit, sa aking mga ano. No, but I'll tell you what, I have a picture. I had the Philippine Coast Guard necktie below. Ginawa ko siya
Talaga?
spot. Yeah, yeah. Just to
Uh,
remind myself na parang, hey, Richard, like, I know you're not a diplomat, but at the end of the day,
yeah,
be clear about where you're coming from.
where you stand. And by the way,
Oh, yeah,
I'd like
yeah.
to
I
make a
had a
comment on
Philippine
that.
Coast Guard. Yeah, yeah.
I'd
Hmm?
like to make a comment on that, Richard.
Please.
In our surveys, it's very clear. Number one, the West Philippine Sea is an important issue for everyday Philippines. It's not the urgent issue, but it's an important issue. That's around 30% of our own population. They say it's an important issue. More than half, okay, believe that the government is close to 60%. I believe that what the government is doing is right because they believe that government should be asserting our rights in that area. And in fact, close to 60% are saying, a little over, I think a little over 60% are saying three things. No, one, we should exhaust all diplomatic channels. Number two, we should expand military and naval presence in the air. That's government's trying to do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and third,
Confidence building.
modernize the
Confidence
armed
building.
forces. That's around 54%. So for the everyday Filipino, the West Philippine Sea, it's clear. It's clear. Atin to, it's important for us to assert our rights in that area, and we have to assert it using those top three measures. So for the everyday Filipino, they're very clear, but for a political elite, you can see they're divided, no? Some are very open pro-China, and then yeah. So the perception is that there's a polarization, there's a division, but actually, when you talk to the everyday Filipino, they're very clear, very very clear, and I don't know why
They
some
don't have
segments twist
motivated
it.
reasoning, to use a
Yeah,
technical term. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they see the
uh,
thing for what it is.
yeah.
Kaya nga ako, very optimistic ako. Kasi alam mo naman, Prof. Ranjit, I mean, the way I broke into kind of a mainstream media discussion is yung
Mm.
Philippine Sea advocacy ko 10, 15 years ago. Back then,
Yes, yes.
we were wondering if anyone cares about this issue as much as we do. So, we have come a long way. Kaya ngayon, iba na yung advocacies ko. Nasa, industrial policy and all of the other things. Kasi,
Yeah, I noticed that you moved political
yeah,
economy
now
now.
I'm going back to Walden Bellio and all of that
Yeah,
industrial
yeah.
policy and all of that, and that's part of my research also here in Oxford. So, now I feel very good. Now we have come a long way in terms of making.
Last point, Richard,
Yes,
and
bro.
like linking everything in together. The question is, are Filipinos patriotic? The answer is yes. 8 out of 10 Filipinos are willing to fight for their country. Should an invasion happen, so at least the people around
Wait,
this
eight
region,
to what?
80%, 80+%.
So
That's
yung mga
willing to
senador,
fight.
kung sila sa 20%. Baka they'll fight on the other side.
Possibly, we don't know. We don't know, but that's without a doubt, no. So Filipinos
Yeah.
are patriotic, but are they do they discriminate against Chinese nationals? And the answer is no.
No, we're not
A
xenophobic. Yeah.
small minority of individuals, less than 20%, are have strong feelings against Chinese nationals, and the rest are truly open. So this is a safe place. It's a good place for Chinese
And just we gave them a visa
tourists
free.
in,
We
no?
gave them
Yeah,
a visa free, so that's important for push. Kasi Koreans yung nagpo-push up lang ng tourism
yeah.
natin. So we
Yeah,
need more.
so
Yeah.
what the Chinese government is saying is nonsense about there's Chinese nationals are not safe here. There's discrimination. No, our surveys are showing Filipinos are very, very open to Chinese nationals, to everyone. And this is a cosmopolitan culture in some sense. We're used to having foreigners here, so people are
Baka it's
generally
because they're
here.
comparing to Duterte time na tang taos puso sila,
Grabe,
So
grabe yung
they're
time na yun.
expecting red carpet. No, you're not gonna get special treatment and all, but visa free. I mean, I'm not sure we are free to go to we are safe to go to China. They
I
rejected
don't
my
think you
visa
are,
last
no?
time. They invited me to a topic WOW forum, yung World Economic Forum nila, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
they give me a visa. Kaya nagwala ako, tuloy naging na sila, nag-reach out sila. So I'll see if I feel safe enough to go again to some of their sure.
Yeah.
Now let's
I
go
think
to
you
our
will be naman. Don't worry about that. I think
yeah. Basta hindi ko lang sabihin si Ronald Llamas ang beshi ko.
baka yun hindi pwede yun, baka banned yun.
Si Ronald self-banned na siya. Like he banned himself before even entering. Let's talk about the Philippines naman. So
Yeah,
one
sure.
of the surveys, Interestingly, BBM is not as hopeless in your survey than other
Yeah,
survey.
I guess
The net
that's the good
negative
entry
3 or
point,
whatever.
right?
Can we discuss this? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we conducted a survey in from December 16 to 20. And the focus is on the trust and performance of the president and the vice president, no? And you know what interesting findings, no? We were looking at a very significant decline in the president's trust and performance ratings. What we got was a divergence. Let's not mitigate this. No, it was a significant 9 percentage
Yeah,
point decline
sure.
in trust, and the trust ratings went down in Class E and Class A, B, C, very big. Um, and in Balanced Luzon and NCR. Okay, so then again, while there was a significant decline in trust, the performance ratings were still above 50%. There was a nominal change, but it was within the margin of error. So one could
Right.
argue there was change. And so, this divergence is between trust and performance was notable, and it made us think, no, that what are Filipinos trying to say now, no? They when it comes to trusting the person, the president, maybe they're clear that there's more distrust now. But when it comes to the question of, is the president doing his job, is the government functioning, still majority of Filipinos approve of the performance of PBBM. This divergence is what's unique in this particular survey. On the other hand, you have the VP who improved her trust ratings nominally within the margin of error, but her performance ratings went up. So in this
Wait,
particular
wait.
quarter,
Performance of what? Like traveling, blogging, like I just wonder, like what is the job of the vice president nowadays?
they're putting me on the spot again. So this is actually they were saying, was it hard to explain the president's and actually that was easier to explain because you know what he was doing. Like he overpromised. That's why his trust went down. But he did very well in terms of bringing down self-rated poverty, which is not we're not the only survey company that saw that. Hunger also went down. Uh, so you can explain why people still approve of his performance. But for the VP, kasi you're not sure what actually happened. It's possible that the programs that the vice president ran during that period, people felt that she was the alternative. The government, as the it's natural once the president's getting hit, the VP benefits from that. So that's possibly what could explain. But you're right, it's harder to explain in her case because she's have a big
Really hard
portfolio
to
at the moment.
explain someone who has a proper job and someone who doesn't have a job and then comparing who has a better and then umakyat pa yung walang job. But
And then there's one professor from UP. We have a Viber group, eh.
right.
So, friends of Okta or UP professors
Parang
are
group,
saying,
parang WeChat nila ba to?
WeChat, Viber naman kami.
Tito.
Yeah,
Ah,
so they were kidding around. They were, criticizing our survey, but they were saying, "What's the lesson of this survey? What's the lesson of this survey? Here's a president who's trying to perform, working very hard, but he's getting low scores, and here's a vice president that we don't know what her portfolio is. So, ano
baka
yung
dapat
lesson?
performative. Ang ranking yung performative rating.
So, ano,
Pataas
ano
ang
daw yung lesson,
performance.
sabi ng professor sa akin? Ano daw, you just keep quiet and yun nga, do nothing and you get a high score. And while the president who's, we know, he's really trying his best not to get things done.
He
I
cannot
don't
do
know how
nothing. He's the president. I mean,
yeah, yun nga eh. So, yun nga sabi nila, ano daw, parang Chinese adage daw, sabi ng isang professor na yung ano daw, uh, no speak, no mistake, ganyan. So,
less
yun daw
speak,
yung
less
strategy.
mistake. Yeah.
Less mistake. And most likely that is what that is the lesson daw of this particular survey. Yung nagtatrabaho, bababa yung ratings. yung hindi nagtatrabaho mataas ang rating. So yun yung ano eh.
Performative nga. But the
Yeah,
economy
so
did very bad last quarter. Actually
yeah.
third and fourth quarter the economy did very bad. And yet dito sa inyo, self-rated poverty saw a
Yeah,
decline. Interesting.
yeah, it record decline. This is the, Okta is only what, 3, 4 years old, and going its fourth year.
So but
And so,
year on year to, so it makes sense.
yeah, year on year
Previous
to, yeah.
year,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
self-rated poverty, quarter on quarter, this was the biggest decline. That's around 17 percentage points. So just to give you an idea, in the third quarter of last year, 2025, it's around 14 million families who said that they could categorize themselves. At least these are perception studies. Remember, these are volatile, these are changing, these are perception studies. They're not here to replace official
Yung
statistics. We are
NEDA statistics.
on income, on all of that. But see, these are important because we can do this quarterly, and perceptions are important because people feel first before government data can catch up and measure that. No, so what was notable here is a 17 percentage point drop. That's around 4.5 million families less who now feel that they are not poor, no? And that brought it down from a high of 54% to 37% in the fourth quarter. That's a lot of people, Richard. It's from 14 million to something like 9 million uh, families, no, who
Hindi
consider themselves
kaya dahil maraming ayuda nung 2025 and all.
possible.
No, I mean,
There's
let's
so
be
many
honest. I'm
reasons.
trying to
So
find the like whatever factor. There could be parang kunwari, yung treatment effect was the kung pwede ka magana, di ba? You can do a treatment effect there. Baka it's the effect of the ayuda and all.
it's the
It really
Yuda, it
helped
could be
poverty
Christmas,
alleviation.
it could be Christmas, there's so many factors that can but you have to also understand that government unloaded so many programs, lalo yung poverty alleviation programs through DSWD, DOLE, and even yung mga iba-ibang klaseng ayuda, no, that were rolled out by different groups, no, different agencies. You also have to understand that rice prices also stabilized in the third and fourth quarter. So we're beginning to develop a hypothesis na if prices are stable, at least food prices are stable, the presence numbers uh, do not decline. So that's a hypothesis we're trying to
It doesn't
test
make
now because
sense. The
yeah.
poverty goes down, BBM's number go down. Sarah doesn't do anything. Her number goes
Yeah,
up. I mean,
yeah. That's my professor's that's my professor's analysis. Here's the thing. It's kind of crazy guys. I mean, what's the lesson in this survey? You don't do anything, you get and
there's
don't
no
speak.
lesson. Yeah, it's like the
Uh,
lesson
but
is
but
don't.
but trying to look at this and relate this seriously to the numbers of the press. You see, we're thinking it was the fourth quarter. All the rallies were there. That was the height of the political crisis, so to speak. That was started because of the scandal. We can understand that the trust ratings would go down, and it went down. But why did the performance ratings remain high? I mean, relative to the trust. So it's possibly this. So this squares off with that. So while people felt that the president overpromised, and did not fulfill many of those parts of their trust, there's an issue about trust. When asked if the government was able to do something, they felt something, and this squares with the earlier finding that more than 50% of our countrymen approve of the performance of the president and the government in general. And it's because of this, I think largely because of this, self-rated poverty went down. And then and if there's another slide, there's another finding, self-rated food poverty, if it's 17 percentage points down, self-rated food poverty, which focuses on the quality of food, the quantity of food, 19 percentage point drop. 5 million families said that they were eating not just 3 meals a day, but better quality food than they did in the third quarter. So all of these perceptions may explain why the president's performance numbers held, and why this cannot be considered a collapse. You understand? It cannot be considered a collapse in both trust and performance because nagkaroon ng divergence nga eh. Trust went down but performance remained. And this is an opportunity for the administration, no, to turn things around because even at the worst possible context, that political crisis in the third and fourth quarter, these were the numbers that they got. So there's a chance to turn this around. Eh. And the only way to turn this around is good governance. The only way to turn this around is for the president to fulfill his promises. And the promises are economic, social, and there's also political. You know, jail those who need to be jailed. Di ba? Those are big promises of the president in the fourth quarter, which I think disappointed a lot of people. So, you know, there's an opportunity to turn this thing around. So I hope that the government takes heed of the possible momentum for reform to further improve their trust and performance ratings.
I saw so corruption is number 4.
Yes. Oh, we also, do you have that? Do you have that slide?
9%. Yeah, I'm trying. I have the slide, but for some reason hindi ko ma-project. It doesn't come
Yeah.
up. Try
So
to
we also came out last week
Yeah.
with a study of our urgent national and personal concerns.
Yeah.
Yan. Top 5. And
Right.
it's clear, it's the economy, stupid. Eh. It's
Yeah.
the economy talaga. So, but Richard, this is the second quarter where there's political reform on the agenda. Fighting graft and corruption. Much a little lower than the third
Right.
quarter last year, but it's still there.
Very high.
So people are seeing the connection between their poverty, their economic woes,
Yeah.
and of corruption. And government has to take this seriously. Look at
It's
the
important. Very important, yeah. Tsaka yung
look at
by class, no?
30%. Oh, by class din mo, it's class
30%
D.
class E. So mas
Yeah.
mataas pa siya sa class E and D kaysa class ABC.
Yeah.
So corruption is a less priority for people like us or middle class.
Or we're less affected by it.
Yeah,
Or
interesting.
perception that it's not as
Yeah.
we're not as vulnerable to it as
It
let's
is
say class D.
interesting.
So interesting. So all of this sort of reinforces maybe some of the findings, no? That this final survey that we had on trust and performance. So it's really the ball is in the government's court now. It's clear. But there's some changes now. Let me just focus on some changes. Controlling the increase in prices of basic goods was the top concern for almost a year and a half. Now it goes down.
Now it makes sense. So self-rated poverty goes down, prioritization of inflation goes down.
So prioritization
logically
goes
makes
down
sense.
also. Why? Because inflation went down, Richard. We have to admit that 1.8 is really much lower than what we were projecting, no, to be the inflation at the end of the year. So people felt the ayuda, people felt the government alleviation pro, at least the
So
poor.
baka yung real purchasing power nila tumaas.
Yeah, there was
actually, yeah.
Yeah, but when you look at the granular level, at least for this, and also at least for this, and also for self-rated poverty, you'll also see that there was some increase in NCR where there was food inflation. There was also an increase in hunger generally for the whole country at 5 percentage point, 5%, 5 percentage point increase. Why? We were studying it and we found out in the areas in the third and fourth quarter, country really suffered from inclement weather, from typhoons. And the areas that got hit badly by typhoons were those areas that registered higher hunger rates. Now, what does it mean? It's not systemic, it's not chronic, it's episodic. Meaning, at the time of the survey, they were still suffering from the impact of these various typhoons that hit both Visayas, Mindanao, and Luzon, no? But mostly Luzon and Visayas. Now, in Mindanao, we also found out that hunger is it's a different problem there. It's systemic and chronic there. So certain areas consistently showed higher self-rated poverty, higher hunger rates. So government has to focus target on releasing resources, implementing better programs, or implementing faster programs for poverty alleviation in those areas. In some area, in areas in Mindanao and in Visayas in particular. In Balanced Zone, it was episodic. These areas got hit by typhoon. So that's why, while they said that they felt less poor, they experienced in some place they experienced short periods of hunger. They were not able to eat 3 meals a day, and these were the areas hit badly by the typhoon. So this is the overall picture.
Right.
So
Now it kind of
is it
makes
a
sense.
picture of
Yeah.
is it a picture of collapse? I don't think it is. I mean, maybe there were some people. I mean, is the political system stable? I think there's some level of. I mean, despite the president's decline, there's no collapse in approval. There's no majority rejection, and you know naman that how that impacts legitimacy, di ba? There's still some level of still some leeway, some room for turning this thing around, no? Um, I think the overall picture is you know that of the possibility that the president and the administration can turn this around. There's a
Yeah.
momentum for change because the basis for approval is clear. It's because government is addressing something. And you can see that in the issue of self-rated
So
poverty.
almost just good enough. I mean, I'll put it that way. Almost just
Well,
good
it's half filled, half empty. You can also spin this as
enough. 52,
near
50.
collapse.
Parang
We're on the
Brexit.
brink.
Parang Brexit,
Oo.
52-48, yung mga ganyan yung split. Parang gano'n.
Oo, kasi
Yeah.
kasi pwedeng on the other side, the opposition say the president and is near collapse, it's on the brink. They're about to slide down the ledge or the cliff, no?
Off the cliff, yeah.
Oh yeah, but
Exactly.
then again, I think another way of looking at it, kasi the numbers of for approval should have gone down drastically, but they did not. So there's a momentum for government. There's a signal for government to continue good governance. So they're on that path, and I hope that they can continue moving on that path.
Right.
It's
On that
yeah,
on
yeah.
that note, last part, Prof. Ranjit, I wanted to ask about the issue of impeachment, right? So now the impeachment against President Marcos, we were talking about this just the other month. At least na clear na first hurdle. At least on the surface, it doesn't look good, although we know mukhang wala naman mapuntahan yan. But there's also going to be another, I think, already filed impeachment complaint against Sara Duterte, multiple ones coming, Akbayan, Makabayan, etc. One of the issues raised, and my colleague and Inquirer, Manolo Quezon, I think the article along the lines of what you're seeing here is judicial activism, or some would say overreach, precisely because it looks like the legislature and to a certain degree the executive were never in sync in terms of amending the constitution throughout the decades. Kumbaga, yung pagkakulang ng legislature, dun nagkaroon ng vacuum. That's why we see a Supreme Court which is very activist and some would say overreaching on
Yeah.
this issue. Nandun pa rin yung contempt case ko, so I'm kind of careful about framing this. They're holding it like a
Be
Damocles
careful.
sword over me.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
wala pa
They
rin
might
yung...
just drop it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Be
yeah.
careful.
So, last point on that, I know wala pa tayong recent surveys, but as a political scientist, maybe no longer as an Okta president, like how do you see that issue? Kasi the rules on the impeachment now are very different, and some would say basically you have positive legislation here by the Supreme Court.
Well, I think at some level, it's fair to say that there was activism. Well, that it's different. Activism is one side, what the positive view of it, but the other, I mean, why activism? Because the Supreme Court clarified procedure. In their view, at least the majority's view there, they made impeachment more calculable, more predictable, and because they judicialized it, they believe it will become less prone, no, to excess, no. On the other hand, there's the other view, which is judicial overreach, where their interventions have actually made a tool for accountability less potent. That now impeachment is so much more complicated to undertake because they judicialized it. So this is the two main arguments. Now I'm still reading through the resolution.
Careful baka
The response to
yeah.
I'm being
Ikaw
very
na lang
careful
walang
for
kaso
your
sa amin
part, no?
lahat. Yes.
I'm being very careful because of you, no? Okay. It's still your show, so you'll get hit because of what I say, no? So pending resolution of your case, this is how I'm going to answer it, no? Well, one thing's for sure, there's in this judicial interference. That's a fair thing to say. Why? Because they changed the definition of certain things. and which the definition
Including calendar days and session
but
days.
that's important. I was listening to Justice Carpio talk about the implication of all of this, no? And I agree with him that the implication is that this will make at least the first mode, the standard mode for impeachment, a lot harder to undertake. It will also open the doors, a Pandora's box, uh, of techniques and strategies, no, for sham complaints, no, because now calendar days and session days open the opportunity, no, to abuse this, especially for the sitting president, especially in a society where, in a political system, I should say, where there are no parties, where the sitting president often always gets the majority in the house. It inoculates him. All these little changes, they're not little actually, all these significant changes inoculates the president from impeachment. A second I think we need to impress is that when you read the resolution, we technically go back to the second mode, which is the fast track mode. At least there are no more procedural strictures, due process strictures. We're back to that mode again, no. But again, because the Supreme Court can now interpret and become activist in this particular kind of constitutional check. I expect that if somebody, even now, no, in Feb, no, we're expecting 4 complaints against the vice president, however legitimate they are. I'm very sure even during the process of initiating, people will go to the courts. And now the courts can come in. This is what happens when you over judicialize.
Open up
A
the
check,
Pandora's
no,
box.
on a check, a guarantee placed by the Constitution against impeachable officers. And in our system, Richard, we only have 1 term for the president. This is practically the only way we can hold him accountable. In other
Right.
systems, like since you have a second term, so
Absolutely.
the sitting president will have to work very hard so he can run for a second term. Here, and that will be the basis for accountability. Here, we only have 1 term, and the best way to keep him accountable is to impeach him. But in this process, you basically inoculate because of the changes you've made, the court has made, the fear that it actually insulates an already what you call this, insulated president from impeachment. And not to mention the fact that it's harder now to impeach a sitting associate justice or chief justice, diba?
So
So
it doesn't help on the accountability.
I don't think it
Yeah.
was over judicializing the
Yeah.
process. Makes it less political or less insulated from the kinds of politics they fear would undermine it. It is the challenge of the day, no? How do we now go around these new strictures, these new approaches to impeaching officials? Now, today we had just had the first day. It was a colorful day also.
Yeah.
So many it's become
I think
very
we can
judicial.
keep it there, Prof.
Legal
Randy.
process na, hindi na political. Hindi na siya
Yeah.
political. Legal na kailangan.
I know.
Nakataryo.
I'll keep it there. So we had Justice Scorpio on the show just the other day.
Yeah.
Okay, check that out. Thank you so much, Prof. Ranjit, kasi I'm worried baka may madulas. So let's just keep it there.
Oh, yeah. Sure. But here's the thing. We have to respect the courts. And that's what all the institutions
Of
are doing
course.
now. They're respecting it. They're now calibrating the rules. Ayan kumambyo ako. So, but then again, it doesn't mean that we have to completely agree with the
We can
perspective.
respectfully
We respectfully disagree with some of the things that were discussed there, and hopefully that these will be corrected or amended or refined, or that the House will actually change some of the rules to mitigate some of the possible negative impacts of this decision. Again, it's the best effort, the best intentions of the court to judicialize to make more legal, to make more like a legal process,
right.
a deeply political process called impeachment, which was conceptualized to make our own impeachable officials accountable. And I hope that impeachment will continue to be a useful tool to ensure accountability in our political system.
On that note, thank you very much, Prof. Ranjit Wright, for joining us, wearing a lot of hats in this, but still doing it in the safe, suave way, unlike me and Ronald. Salamat, Prof. Talk to you soon.
Salamat, Richard. All the best.
God bless.
Okay.
Talk to you
God
soon.
bless.